Hi, everyone. Welcome to our exploration of the complex and varied world of political, economic, and legal system. Today, we delve into how these foundational elements shape countries from international interactions, influencing everything from individual rights to the global business landscape. Join me as we unravel the interplay between the governance, economy, and law and their profound impact on global management practices. Uh, Now, what we were going to discuss now, we're going to focus more on the national differences in political, economic, and legal system. And these are the things that we're going to discuss under these chapters: the political system, the economic systems, the legal systems, the property rights and corruptions, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and six is protection of intellectual property, production safety and product liability, and lastly is impact on management practices. Before we begin, of course, let's have these learning outcomes. The student will be able to compare and contrast different political systems across countries and understand their key characteristics. Second, differentiate between various economic systems globally and understand their fundamental principles and operations. And next is identify and describe the variations in legal systems among different countries and their implications. Lastly, analyze and explain how different in political, economic, and legal system affect management practices in an international context. Now let's start with political. Let's discuss types of political system. We have collectivism versus individualism. When we say collectivism, this prioritizes the goals of the group or society over individual aspirations. It's in such a system, the state often plays a significant role in regulating and guiding the economy and social welfare. Now, these ideologies argues the collective well-being leads to a more harmonious and equitable society. Now, the philosophy of the collectivism dates back to Plato, who advocated for state ownership of resources for the common good. In the modern context, collectivist ideologies are often associated with socialist or communist doctrines, which argue for state interventions to reduce economic inequalities. Now, let me give you an example in China. So China, under Mao Zedong, exemplified a collectivist and totalitarian regime with a state-controlled economy. The state's role in managing the resources and production aimed at ensuring collective welfare over individual posterity. On the other hand, individualism stands at the opposite end, stressing personal freedoms and rights. It emphasizes minimal state intervention, advocating for free market principle where individuals have the liberty and pursue economic success and personal goals. Individualistic societies often correlate with democratic system where governance is based on the protection of individual rights and fair representation through election. Example for this, of course, it emphasized, or example for this one is United States, which is cited as individualistic society. Its political system and economic practices are heavily influenced by individualistic ideals, emphasizing personal freedoms, private property, and market-driven economy. Now let's take a look at on the second or third and fourth political system, which are democratic versus totalitarian regimes. Now, when we say democratic system, These are characterized by a political system where power is exercised through elected representatives. They're founded on principles of individual rights, freedoms of expressions, and fair, transparent governance. The key features include the free and fair elections, judicial independence, and accountability of the government to its citizens. Example for this is in Sweden, which is a democratic nation, combines elements of individualism with a welfare state model. It showcases how democratic system can support individual rights while ensuring collective welfare through social programs. On the other hand, totalitarian regime features centralized control by a party or leader with little to no tolerance of political pluralism or dissenting opinions. These regimes often suppress individual freedom and control various aspects of citizens' lives. Best example for this is the North Korea, which stands as a contemporary example of totalitarian regime. The government exerts control over all aspects of life, including the economy, media, political expression, aligning with collectivist and authoritarian principles. Now, what's the impact of understanding this kind of political system? Understanding the spectrum of political system is crucial for international business. The political environment of a country influences its economic policies, legal frameworks, and overall business climate. For instance, operating in a collectivist society like China requires different strategies compared to conducting business in an individualistic and democratic country like the United States. Similarly, navigating the business landscape in a totalitarian regime like North Korea presents unique challenges compared to operating in a democratic setting. Now, these political ideologies and system from collectivism versus individualism to democratic versus totalitarianism regime play a pivotal role in shaping a country's governance structure and have direct implication for international business practices. The examples in China, the United States, Sweden, and North Korea illustrate these diverse political landscape and their influence on the global business environment. Next is in the economic system. The economic system can be fundamentally understood through the lens of how countries prioritize either individual or collective goals, as stated in the previous discussions that we have. These priorities shape whether a nation leans more towards market-based system, command economies, or adopts a mixed approach, which we will go into discuss later on. Now let's delve into this system with detailed explanation and examples that I will be providing. Let's start with the market economy. In a pure market economy, all productive activities are privately owned rather than state-owned. The production and prices of goods and services are dictated by the forces of supply and demand without central planning. The price system plays a crucial role. Now, if demand exceeds supply, prices rise, encouraging producers to increase production. Conversely, if supply exceeds demand, prices fall, leading to reduced production. In this system, consumers, through their purchasing choices, have a significant influence over what it is produced. Now, what is the role of the government when it comes to its competition? Of course, the government is a market economy. Usually, in a market economy, usually takes on the role of a regulator to ensure fair competition. This includes implementing antitrust laws to prevent monopolies and encourage competition. Private companies in such economy incentivizes entrepreneurs to innovate and improve efficiency, contributing to economic growth and development. One of these examples is the United States. in a market economy. The US economy is characterized by private enterprises and relative small role for the government in regulating the marketplace compared to command or mixed economies. Now let's take a look at or discuss the command economy. In a command economy, the government plans the goods and services produced, their quantities, as well as the prices. The system is typically found in countries where collective goals are prioritized over individual goals. State ownership of businesses is common and the market is heavily regulated or restricted by the government. Now, what is the challenges when it comes to efficiency? For command economies often struggle with inefficiencies due to a lack of competitions and incentives for cost control and innovation. The absence of profit motive often leads to stagnation and lower quality goods and services. A best example here is in North Korea, which represent a command economy where the state controls all major aspects of economic production and distribution. These controls extend to strict regulation and limited individual economic freedoms. Next is mixed economy. A mixed economy combines elements of both market and command economies. It features a blend of private ownership and government control. The government may own or control certain industries while leaving others to market forces. Now, how does it balance when it comes to balancing private and public interest? Well, mixed economies attempt to balance the efficiency of market economies with the social objectives of command economies. Government in mixed economies might regulate the economy to address social welfare or strategic concerns. Best example for this one is in Sweden. It has a robust market-based economy, but also features extensive government intervention in the form of welfare programs and public services. Now, understanding this economic system, market, command, and mixed economies is, crucial for grasping how different countries manage their economic activities. This knowledge is vital for businesses operating internationally, and it affects how they should strategize and operate in varying economic environments. The example of the United States, North Korea, and Sweden illustrate a distinct approaches and implications of these economic systems. Next, go ahead and discuss the legal system. And one part of the legal system is the common law. Now, before discussing what is the common law, let's take a look at the overview of the legal system. Legal systems across the world are integral to the functioning of societies, especially in the context of international business. This system provides the framework within which business transactions are executed and define the rights and obligations of entities involved. Now let's delve into the three main types of legal system: the common law, the civic law, and the theocratic law, and their influence on business practices based on the information I provided earlier. So let's discuss common law. Common law, which evolved in England, is prevalent in most Great Britain former colonies, including the United States. It is based on tradition, precedent, and custom, wherein law courts interpret laws with regard to the country's legal history, past cases, and the application of laws in a specific situation. The system offers flexibility, as judges have the power to interpret the law for individual cases, setting precedents for future legal decisions. Laws in common law system are often modified and clarified over time as new precedents arise. Now, let me give you an example. In common law countries, no, let me take a look at on the impact, of common law in the international business. Now, in common law countries, the dynamic and evolving nature of law provides a degree of adaptability and responsiveness to new types of business transactions and agreements. However, the reliance on this case law and judicial decision will lead to uncertainties in how laws are applied. Example for this is the common law influence seen in the United States, where legal decision in business matters are often based on precedent. This system has allowed for the development of detailed case laws in areas like the intellectual property, which is crucial for technology companies like Apple and Microsoft. Let's discuss the next part of the legal law system, the civic law. Now, civic law found in countries like Germany, France, Japan, and Russia is based on detailed sets of laws organized into codes. Courts in the civic law system interpret laws with reference to these codes, and judges have less flexibility than in common law system. Now, what is this impact to international business? Now, the codified nature of civic law provides more predictability and uniformity in legal processes. However, it might lack the flexibility to deal with unique or unprecedented business scenarios. Contrasts in civic law countries tend to be shorter and less detailed as many issues are already covered in the legal codes. Example for this, of course, is in Germany, which is a civic law country. The legal framework is heavily codified, providing business clear guidelines on various matters, including the labor laws, corporate governance, and contract enforcement. This clarity benefits companies like Volkswagen and Siemens in their domestic and international operations. Now let's take a look at on the theocratic law. Theocratic law system base their laws on religious teaching. Islamic law, for instance, is not just about moral conduct, but also governs commercial activities with principle derived from religious texts like Quran. Now, the impact of this law in international business in the countries with theocratic legal system, business practices must align with religious principles. Now, this can affect areas like finance, where charging interest may be prohibited, influencing banking and lending practices. Example is in Saudi Arabia, which governed by Islamic law, possess unique challenges for businesses, particularly in finance. Islamic banking, which prohibits interest, has led to the development of alternative financing models affecting both domestic and international banks operating in the region. Now, the type of legal system prevalent in a country, common law, the civic law, or theocratic law, significantly influences how businesses operates, especially in an international context. Understanding this legal system helps multinational corporations like the Apple, Volkswagen, and international banks adapt their operation to comply with varying legal frameworks in different countries. These adaptation is crucial for business or legal compliance, effective risk management, and successful international business operations. Now let's take a look at, or let's discuss the fourth topic, which is the property rights and corruption. When we say property rights, this refers to the legal rights over the use of resources that an individual or business legally owns, including land, buildings, equipments, capital mineral rights, businesses, and intellectual property like the patents, the copyrights, as well as the trademarks. Ensuring property rights is fundamental for the functioning of a market economy as it provides the legal framework within which business operates. Strong property rights encourages investment, innovation, and economic growth by protecting the interests of businesses and individuals. While almost all countries have laws protecting property rights, the extent and enforcement of these rights vary significantly. For instance, in China, despite its communist roots, enacted laws in 2007 to protect private property rights, offering legal protection similar to the provided to state-owned properties. Another example here is in the United States and other developed countries with strong legal system protecting or legal system property rights are well defined and protected, encouraging a high level of economic activity and entrepreneurship. In contrast, developing countries often struggle with weak enforcement of property rights, leading to higher risk for businesses and investors. This disparity is evident in difference between property rights protection in the US and, for example, in certain African or Latin American countries where enforcement may be less robust. Next is the corruption and its impact on property rights. Let's take a look at in private action. Private action violating property rights include theft, piracy, blackmail, and activities by criminal organization. A weak legal system can exacerbate these issues, as seen in post-communist Russia, where businesses faced threats from organized crime, like the Russian mafia, due to inadequate legal and police system. The situation contrasts with countries like the US and Japan, where despite the presence of organized crime, example, the mafia and Yakuza, a stronger legal system limits its impact on businesses. Next is the public action and corruption. Public action violating property rights occurs when government officials, such as the politician and bureaucrats, extort income, resources, or the property itself from the property holders. This can happen legally through excessive taxation or permits, or illegally through corruption and bribery. Corruption in particular undermines the legal system, distort markets, and stymites economic growth. It creates an uneven playing field where businesses may need to engage in corrupt practices to operate effectively. Let me give you an example. Now, in countries with rampant corruption, such as certain nations in Africa, Russia, or Latin America, businesses often face challenges related to property rights and corruption. For instance, in Nigeria and Russia, high levels of corruption have historically impacted foreign investment and economic growth, contrasting with more transparent environments like Canada and Sweden. Understanding property rights and the role of corruption is crucial for international businesses. Strong property rights and low levels of corruption creates a conducive environment for business operations, encouraging investment and economic activity. Conversely, weak property rights and high corruption levels pose significant challenges, creating risks and uncertainties for businesses operating in those environments. The comparison between the legal and business environment in developed countries like the US and developing or transition economies highlights the impact of property rights and corruption on international business practices. Now let's talk about the fifth topic, which is the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, or FCPA. Now, what is FCPA? Now, FCPA, or the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, enacted in the United States in the 1970s, was a response to revelations that US companies have been engaging in the bribery of foreign government practices officials to secure lucrative contracts. This law criminalizes bribing foreign officials to obtain or maintain business and mandates all publicly traded companies to maintain accurate records that could reveal potential violation of the act. Now, we do have here a key provisions and impact, and these are the following. First is illegalization of bribery. The FCPA makes it illegal for individuals, businesses, and agents to offer or pay or promise to pay money or anything of value to foreign government officials to influence any act or decision in an official capacity. This law targets corruptions in international business transactions, aiming to create a level playing field for honest businesses. Next provision is record-keeping requirements. The FCPA, the Organization for Economic Cooperating, following the FCPA, I'm sorry. So the FCPA requires companies to keep detailed and accurate financial records that reflect all transactions. These provisions prevents companies from concealing bribery and foster transparency in business operations. Now, what is influence in global business? Following the FCPA, the Organization for Economic Cooperations and Development, or OECD, adopted the governance or conventions in combating bribery of foreign public officials in international business transactions. These conventions, supported by major economies, oblige members states to criminalize the bribery of foreign officials, extending the principles of the FCPA globally. Now, exemptions to facilitating payments. Now, the FCPA and the OECD convention allows for minor payments known as facilitating or expediting payments. These are small payments made to expedite routine governmental actions like issuing permits or processing paperwork are not considered illegal under the FCPA. One of the example is Walmart. The Walmart in Mexico. The alleged violation are these. In 2012, evidence suggested that Walmart in its expansion effort in Mexico might have violated the FCPA. Reports indicated that Walmart de Mexico had made payment to local officials to speed up the zoning and permit process of the new store location. This case brought to light the challenges multinational corporations face in adhering to the FCPA while operating in the environments with different or differing economic norms. Now, what is the global impact on corporate ethics of these violation for Walmart? Now, the Walmart case illustrates the complexities international business encounter in markets with prevalent corruptions. It underscores the need for multinational companies to diligently adhere to FCPA regulations, regardless of local business practices, to maintain corporate ethics and avoid legal repercussions. Now, let's take a look at and discuss the sixth topic, which is protection of intellectual property rights. Now, intellectual property refers to creation of mind, inventions, literary or artistic works, designs, symbols, names, images used in commerce. The patents, copyrights, and trademarks are the legal mechanism by which IP is protected. So let's delve into these mechanisms and the global challenges they face based on the information or discussion that we made earlier. Now let's discuss the first one, mechanism, which is patents. A patent grants the inventor of a new product or process exclusion rights for a defined period, typically 20 years, to the manufacturer, to the manufacturer, use or sale of that invention. Now, patents stimulate innovation by rewarding the substantial investment of time and resources often required to develop new products or processes. They provide an incentive for companies to undertake research and development. Example for this is the pharmaceutical industry, whose heavily relies on the patents. Developing a new drug can cost about 1 billion and take up to 12 years. Now, without the patent protection, companies would be less likely to invest in the extensive research required to develop new medications. Next is copyrights. Copyrights grant authors, composers, playwrights, artists, and publisher exclusive rights to publish and distribute their work. They are vital in protecting the creative industries. This protection encourages creativity by ensuring that the creators can profit from their work, thus fostering further artistic and literary development. Now, an example is in the music industry, where copyrights protect the rights of artists and record labels, ensuring they receive royalties for their work. This legal protection is crucial for the industry's economic viability. Now, copyright duration varies by countries and the type of work, but the general rule in many jurisdictions, including the United States, is that copyright lasts for the life of the author, plus an additional 70 years after the author's death for works of personal authorship. Now, for anonymous or pseudonymous works or works made for hire, the duration is 95 years from publication or 120 years from creation, whichever is shorter. In the European Union, the duration of copyright protection is also generally the life of the author plus 70 years. However, there are exceptions and specific conditions that can extend or shorten this period in certain cases. For work published or created in other countries, the duration of copyright protection can vary. So it is important to check the specific laws of each country. The Berne Convention, to which most countries are signatories, requires a minimum term of copyright protection of the life of the author plus 50 years. But many countries, including those in European Union and United States, offer longer protection period. Now, in the Philippines, copyright protection is governed by the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines or Republic Act 8293. The general rule for the duration of copyright protection in the Philippines is as follows. Now, for literary and artistic works, copyright lasts for the life of the author plus 50 years after their death. So this applies to authors who are Filipino citizens or residents. Now, for audiovisual works and photographs, the copyright lasts for 50 years from the date of publication, or if unpublished, from the creation of the work. Now, for works of applied art, the protection lasts for 25 years from the date of making the work. These duration ensure that the copyright in the Philippines aligns with the minimum protection required by the Berne Convention for the protection of literary and artistic works to provide or to which the Philippines is also a signatory. After the copyright term expires, the work enters the public domain and can be used freely by anyone. All right? So let's talk about trademarks. So trademarks, by definition, are designs and names officially registered by which merchants or manufacturers differentiate their products. They're crucial for brand identity in the marketplace. Trademark help consumers identify and choose products and services, fostering brand loyalty and business growth. Example, brands like Nike and Apple heavily rely on trademarks to protect their brand identity, to protect their brand identity. The Nike swoosh and Apple symbol are instantly recognizable trademark that represent the quality and reputation of the respective companies. Internationally, trademark protection is territorial. Now, which means that the trademark are protected in the countries where they are registered. There isn't a single global trademark registration that covers all countries. However, there are international systems in place that facilitate the process of applying for trademark protection in multiple countries through a single application. Now, there are two key systems facilitate international trademark registration. The first one is the Madrid system. The Madrid system, administered by the World Intellectual Property Organization, or WIPO, it's either one, allows trademark owners to file one application in one language and pay one set of fees to apply for trademark protection in up to 128 member countries. As of the last update, April 23. Now, protection in each country is subject to the approval of the local trademark office, and the duration of protection is generally 10 years with the possibility of renewal. Now, in the European Union trademark or EUTM, the EUTM system provides trademark protection across all European Union members states through a single application filed with the European Union Intellectual Property Office, EU IPO. A registered EUTM is valid for 10 years from the date of application and can be renewed indefinitely for a further 10 years period. While this is a regional system, it's a powerful tool for businesses looking to protect their trademarks in the European market. For protection in countries not covered by this system or where specific national protection is desired, trademark owners must apply for protection directly with the National Trademark Office of each country. The process and requirements for registration, as well as the duration of the protection, may vary from one country to another. The basic principle of renewability applies broadly in most jurisdictions. Trademarks can be renewed indefinitely as long as they are in use and renewal fees are paid. This means that effectively, trademarks can be protected forever, provided they continue to be associated with a product or service in the market. In the Philippines setting, trademark protection is governed by the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines, Republic Act number 8293 as amended. Trademarks in the Philippines are protected through the registration in the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines, or IPOPHIL. Once a trademark is registered, the initial terms of protection is 10 years from the date of registration. This protection can be renewed indefinitely for periods of 10 years, as long as the renewal fees are paid and the trademark is still in use. To maintain the registration, the owner must file a declaration of actual use, or DAU, with the evidence of the trademark's use in commerce within the Philippines at specific intervals within the third year from the date of application, within 1 year from the 5th anniversary of the registration, or upon renewal of the registration. Failure to comply with these requirements can result in the removal of trademark from the registrar for registered, thus losing the protection granted by the registration. It is important for trademark owners to monitor, these deadlines closely and ensures that all necessary documents and fees are submitted on time to maintain their trademark rights. Okay. So let's discuss now the seventh topic, which is product safety and product liability. Now, product safety and product liability laws are crucial for protecting consumers and ensuring that companies are held accountable for the safety and liability of their products. These laws are significantly across countries, impacting international business and operations and raising important ethical consideration. Now, let's discuss product safety laws. So product safety laws set safety standards the products must adhere to. The standards are designed to prevent harm to consumers from unsafe or defective products. Okay, so basically the goal is to ensure the products sold in the market do not cause undue risk of injury, death, or damage to consumers. So the variation when it comes to the stringency of the product safety laws varies globally. Now, in developed countries like the United States and in many Western unions, these laws are typically comprehensive and strictly enforced. In contrast, less developed countries may have less extensive safety laws, relaxed enforcement, leading to higher risk of unsafe products entering the market. Internationally, product safety laws vary by country and region, as each jurisdiction has its own regulation designed to ensure that products sold to consumers are safe for use. However, there are some international standards and agreements that aim to harmonize aspects of product safety across borders. First one is ISO standards. The ISO standard, or the International Organization for Standardizations, provides numerous standards that relate to product safety, including the specific standard for various products and general standards for quality management and risk assessment. Example for this is the ISO 9001 for quality management system. Another is the IEC standards. IEC standard, or the International Electrotechnical Commission, focuses on electrical, electronic, and related technologies. Standards like IEC 60335 series cover the safety of household and similar electrical appliances. The next one is the Global Harmonization Task Force. Now, although some succeeded by the International Medical Device Regulator Forum, or IMDRF, the GHTF was a key initiative that aimed to achieve greater harmonization in the regulation of medical devices to ensure their safety and effectiveness. Now, the European Union has comprehensive product safety directives, like the General Product Safety Directive, or GPSD, which sets out basic safety requirements for all consumers, products, and specific directive for certain categories of product, example, the toys and electronics. Now, in the Philippines, product safety is governed by various laws, regulation, and agencies depending on the type of the product. We do have the Consumer Act of the Philippines, or Republic Act number 7394. This act provides for the protection of consumer against hazard to health and safety, misleading advertisement, and unfair sales practices. It covers a wide range of products and services. Another is the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA. Now, the FDA is responsible for ensuring the safety and quality of food products, drugs, cosmetics, and medical devices. It operates under the Department of Health and enforces regulation related to manufacture, distribution, and sale of these products. Next is the Department of Trade and Industry. The Department of Trade and Industry, through its Bureau of Philippine Standards, or BPS, sets product standard for a variety of consumer goods, including the electronics, household appliances, to ensure their quality and safety. Now, next one is the product liability. Product liability involves holding a firm and its officer responsible when a product causes injury, death, or damage. The liability can be much, greater if a product does not conform to required safety standards. Both civic and criminal product liability law exist. Civic laws call for monetary damages, while criminal liability can result to fines or imprisonment. So what's the impact of these particular product liability to business? Now, in the United States, extensive liability laws had led to a dramatic increase in the cost of liability insurance, affecting the competitiveness of American businesses in global market. Next is the ethical consideration and international business and trade. Now, adhering to safety standards. Firms operating internationally face ethical decisions regarding adherence to safety standards. Now, when product safety laws are tougher in a company's home country than in foreign market, or when liability laws are more lax abroad, companies must decide whether to follow the more relaxed local standard or adhere to their home country standards. Example is the complexities of international product liability is the automotive industry. Car manufacturers like Toyota or Volkswagen must ensure that their vehicle meets varying safety standards in different markets. Now, for instance, the safety features required in the European Union may differ from those in developing countries. Pharmaceutical companies also navigate complex product liability landscape. They must ensure that drugs meet the safety standards of each country they operate in, which can vary significantly, especially between developed and developing nations. Now, in conclusion, product safety and product liability laws play a critical role in international business operations. These laws not only ensure consumer protection, but also pose significant ethical and operational challenges for companies operating in different legal environments. The variation in these laws across countries requires multinational companies to navigate a complex web of regulation balancing legal compliance with ethical consideration and business competitiveness. The example from the automotive and pharmaceutical industry illustrates how companies adapt their products and practices to meet these diverse legal and ethical standards globally. Now, last topic is the impact on management practices. Now, let's explore the influence on management practices. First is for legal system. But before we discuss the legal system, and in the international context, management practices are profoundly influenced by countries' political, economic, legal, and ethical standard. Now, these factors determine how businesses operate, make decisions, interact with stakeholders, and adapt different markets. Now, let's take a look at on these management practices. When it comes to political system, the type of political system, the democratic, totalitarian, collectivist, individualist, directly influence business operational freedom, government interaction, and regulatory compliance. Now, for example, a democratic system with strong individualistic values management practices often focus innovation, competitive strategies, and customer satisfaction. While in collectivist or totalitarian system, businesses might prioritize government relations and adapt to state-controlled economic policies. And another one is a multinational corporation operating in China, a country with a unique blend of collectivist and market-driven policies would need to navigate state regulations and local business practices differently than in one more liberal market economy like the United States. Right. Next is the economic system. Now, whether a country has a market, the command or mixed economy influences corporate strategies, investment decisions, and market entry approaches. In market economies, companies focus on market-based competition and consumer preferences. In contrast, in command economies, strategic alignment with government plans and policies is crucial. Example for this is like Coca-Cola and McDonald's, who actually adjust their market strategies to fit into various economic systems, from aggressively competitive markets in the US to more regulated environments in countries with mixed economies. Now, let's take a look at in legal system. Now, different legal systems dictates varying degrees of regulatory compliance affecting areas like the labor laws, environmental regulations, intellectual property rights, and corporate governance. Management must ensure ethical practices align with both local and international legal systems as standards, which can vary significantly. Now, example is the pharmaceutical companies such as the Pfizer and AstraZeneca must adhere to diverse legal standards regarding the drug approval, patents, and clinical trials in different countries. Lastly is ethical standards. Of course, ethical standards vary by culture and country, affecting corporate social responsibility, ethical sourcing, and labor practices. Management must navigate this varying ethical landscape to maintain a positive corporate image and adhere to social responsibility. Example is the apparel companies like the Nike and Adidas face ethical challenges in ensuring fair labor practices across their global supply chains, especially in countries like with different labor standards. Now, in conclusion, understanding the impact of political, economic, legal, and ethical differences is crucial for effective international management. These factors shape everything from strategic planning to daily operations. Manager must be adept at adapting their practices to align with the diverse environments in which they operate. This adaptation requires a deep understanding of local context and commitment to ethical standards, ensuring not only compliance, but also the achievement of sustainable long-term success in the global market. So as we wrap up today's insightful journey through the intricacies of political, economic, and legal systems, we've uncovered how these structures not only define the fabric of nations, but also sculpt the global business environment. Our discussion has laid the groundwork for understanding the complexities of international business management and how it's influenced by the interplay between the governance, economy, and law. Looking ahead, our next topic will delve into the national differences in economic development, where we'll explore how economic landscape shape countries' progress and the roles in the global market. Thank you for joining me in this enlightening discussion. Don't miss our next lesson on national differences in economic development. Remember to subscribe, like, and ring the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos. See you in the next lesson. Bye, everyone.